MMA Fighting presents Timeline, Islam Makhachev versus Arman Tsarukyan 2. May 23rd, 2015, UFC 187, Johnson versus Cormier, Las Vegas, Nevada. The 11-0 Islam Makhachev makes his UFC debut on the early prelims against the 17-1 Leo Kuntz. Makhachev wins by second round rear naked choke.
Khabib Nurmagomedov was in your corner. What kind of advice did he give you before the fight about debuting in the UFC and how to handle all the pressure?
He was supporting me all the time, and he was explaining that it's going to be the same experience that we had before. All 11 fights, all the opponents going to be the same. It's nothing special, only like the arena and the attention going to be much bigger but everything else is going to be the same. So don't worry, stay relaxed, and just do your job.
Well, you're quite stoic, and I don't know if that's your natural personality. Are you happy right now? Are you cool about winning? Are you excited?
Хотя это он не показывает, я очень счастлив. Я давно хотел выступать в этой организации, и я рад, что я смог так уверенно выиграть в дебюте.
Well, yeah, I don't have much expression on my face, but in the deep, I'm really happy. I was waiting for this moment for a long time, and I took my chance today.
October 3rd, 2015, UFC 192, Cormier versus Gustafsson, Houston, Texas. The undefeated Makhachev faces Adriano Martins on the prelims. Martins hands Makhachev the first defeat of his career by TKO early into round one. After an over 11-month layoff, Makhachev gets back to his winning ways, defeating Chris Wade by decision at UFC Fight Night 94, Poirier vs. Johnson in Hidalgo, Texas. And at UFC 208 in Brooklyn, Makhachev would defeat Nick Lentz by decision. January 20th, 2018, UFC 220, Miocic vs. Ngannou, Boston, Massachusetts. Makhachev is set to face Brazilian veteran Gleison Tibau as the curtain jerker for the pay-per-view event. The Dagestani wrestler knocks out Tibau less than a minute into the fight.
I think that was your first knockout since 2011.
Yes, this is my first knockout in I don't know, like 6 years.
So what's the feeling like when you connected that cleanly and he dropped, within a matter of seconds? What's it like for you?
I don't know, now I very good feel. I am now very happy.
What is it like having him as a training partner?
If I work with Khabib, I don't know. And anybody is like another Khabib, another level for them. He beat a lot of tough guys. I work with him every day. After sparring with Khabib, everybody like top 15. I think he easy for me.
Khabib says it's hashtag beef, right? Is it now hashtag Islam time?
Yes, today this is my time.
July 28th, 2018, UFC on Fox 30, Alvarez versus Poirier 2, Calgary, Alberta, Canada. Islam Makhachev travels north to face Canadian Cajun Johnson.
Islam have potential to be UFC champion, and he need maybe 3-4 more fights for become UFC #1 contender in lightweight division. He's gonna be take maybe 1.5 year. I think he can do this because I know this kid like science maybe almost 20 years, and without injuries. You have to be careful about this. Without like lucky punch or something like this, he can beat anybody in lightweight division right now. This is my opinion.
Makhachev extends his winning streak to 4 fights as he wins via first-round armbar.
See, what do you think should happen for
I don't know now. I think UFC and Dana Sean Shelby understand I am deserved for top opponent. All my life I'm training with Khabib. Like I'm training with champion. I'm training hard, training smart. We have good coach in Dagestan, in USA too. Not now. I think now I think everybody.
Now it's Islam time.
Now I think everybody understand.
April 20th, 2019. UFC on ESPN Plus 7, Overeem versus Olenek, St. Petersburg, Russia. Islam Makhachev is set to face UFC newcomer, the 13-1 Arman Tsarukyan. Makhachev wins a competitive decision. The fight also takes home Fight of the Night honors. June 27th, 2019. UFC 240, Holloway versus Edgar, Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. The 13-2 Arman Tsarukyan is set to face Canadian Olivier Aubin-Mercier. Tsarukyan wins via unanimous decision. Tsarukyan would follow up this victory with the decision win over Davi Ramos at UFC Fight Island, Figueiredo versus Benavidez 2.
I won't fight with top 15, top 10 because my opponent was very great, and first Islam and next Canadian guy, and now is David Ramos is very strong guy. I think I can fight everybody. I won't fight with Quinta because I like him. He's very open, and his fight with Khabib Nurmagomedov, he's everybody know he's Russia. It's good fight for me, I think.
September 7th, 2019. UFC 242, Khabib versus Poirier, Abu Dhabi. Makhachev makes a relatively quick turnaround to face grappling specialist Davi Ramos. Also headlining the card is Makhachev's main training partner and UFC lightweight champion Khabib Nurmagomedov. This would also be the first time Islam is placed on the main card of a pay-per-view. The heavy favorite cruises to a unanimous decision victory.
Thank you so much. I feel great because a lot of people coming. Thank you, brother. I feel great because a lot of people coming to support me to Abu Dhabi. A lot of people from Russia, from Dagestan, my family, my friends. This is a little bit pressure for me, but I'm very happy.
What does it mean to you that Khabib just brought you the belt and put it down there and said, because you're going to be champion one day?
I very waiting when he retired. I wanna fight for this belt. This is my dream.
January 23rd, 2021. UFC 257, Poirier versus McGregor 2, Abu Dhabi. Now riding a 2-fight win streak, Tsarukyan is set to face striker Matt Frivola.
I hope UFC gave me strong fighter top 15, but it's okay. I think we will be show very good fight because we both angry and hungry, young guys. It will be good fight.
Yeah.
Last 3 fighters was wrestler more, but this guy more striker. For me will be easy, I think so, because with striker for me fight's easy,
Why is it so much easier?
because I'm a wrestler. I like wrestling a lot. It's my first when I was young I did a lot of wrestling, and that's why with striker for me easy,
Tsarukyan gets his 3rd consecutive decision victory. Tsarukyan would continue his winning ways with the first-round knockout of Christos Giagos at UFC Vegas 37 Smith vs. Spann at the UFC Apex.
Arman Tsarukyan, good lord, what a performance.
Oh my goodness, that
showcase
fight. I love it.
Lived up to that, to being the biggest favorite on the card. He needed a finish. He needed a performance like that. He got it.
But my God, man, that dude is gonna be a problem in this UFC lightweight division for years to come. I am absolutely full-on believer at this point. We even saw it with his debut against Islam Makhachev, where he kind of gave Islam a surprisingly competitive fight, and it's that should have been the first sign to a lot of people what this guy could actually be. But he has just looked like a monster since. And really, the whole problem so far with his UFC career is he just hasn't been finishing people, right? And then come in today in what was kind of a showcase fight, like you mentioned the odds. I love it when the UFC does this. They don't do it nearly enough in my mind. They don't let these kind of prospects get these kind of showcase fights, because that's what we get when you do that. When you make that booking, you get him looking outrageously good, knocking this guy out in less than 2.5 minutes. And now who isn't excited to see Arman Tsarukyan really work his way up the ranks, right? Like, he is absolutely my star of this card in terms of underrated fighters coming in. And I cannot wait to see where he sort of lands next in this lightweight division, because this division is stacked. It's always one of the most talent-rich divisions in the entire sport. But right now, when you got hungry young killers like him coming up, oh, I love it. I absolutely love it.
March 6th, 2021. UFC 259, Blachowicz versus Adesanya, Las Vegas, Nevada. Makhachev is booked on the main card of the 3-title fight Apex pay-per-view against Drew Dober.
Honestly, I think this is easy way for me. If I'm take him down, control, like, I think his wrestling game not so good.
And finally, a lot of people compare you to Khabib. Obviously, Khabib has said you should be considered in that top 5 when they're talking about Poirier, McGregor, Chandler, and everyone. Daniel Cormier, the same thing. But do you think it's important at all to kind of forge your own path so people start thinking of Islam as his own fighter rather than Islam, Khabib's former training partner?
I think after this fight, if I finish Drew, it's gonna be like everything is gonna be changed, because this is it's gonna be 7-fight win streak, and like in my division, no lot of people have win streak like this. That's why I think in other next one they're gonna give me some guy from maybe top 5, top 10, and I'm gonna show us my skills.
Makhachev delivers another impressive performance and submits Dober late into round 3 by arm triangle.
And now, what's next for you? I know you at the media day you said maybe rebooking the Rafael Dos Anjos fight, RDA. Is there anyone else you want to fight next at 155?
RDA or Tony Ferguson, but my dream fight's Tony, because we have some deal with him like a couple years. Now he still like pressure Khabib. He says something like, I don't know, I don't understand this guy, but I wanna just help him retire it. You know, he's old, like his mind is a little bit crazy. That's why I just wanna help him. You know, Khabib and me have just almost same technique. We have good wrestling, good grappling skills. That's why I just wanna show people how Khabib take him down, like control him, make him tired, like make him tap. Everybody talk like Tony, like hard fight for Khabib, but I never think like that, because Khabib's wrestling and grappling like different level. Nobody have like that.
How do you envision becoming the champion of this division?
I just have to be in, you know, this year I have to fight 2-3 times more, and beginning 2022, I'm gonna be champion.
July 17th, 2021. UFC Fight Night, Makhachev versus Moises, Las Vegas, Nevada. Makhachev is booked in his first main event opposite Thiago Moises. Makhachev dominates and finishes Moises by rear naked choke in round 4.
All the people saying that he's the next Khabib, but maybe better. I don't see any issue with that. He just now needs higher level competition to fight. Now, who's going to sign the contract? That's going to be the big issue. No, we are. This is the post Khabib era. Let's see if Makhachev is the dude.
October 30th, 2021. UFC 267, Blachowicz versus Teixeira, Abu Dhabi. Islam Makhachev returns to Abu Dhabi to face the always entertaining Dan Hooker.
I know I have to finish Dan Hooker, because I finished last my 3 opponents, and I tried to finish all my opponents, you know. But I have to show UFC how my level, because very soon I have to fight for the title. That's why I'm gonna try to finish him everywhere.
Makhachev makes quick work of Hooker and submits him by double wrist lock halfway into round 1. February 26th, 2022. UFC Vegas 49, Makhachev versus Green, Las Vegas, Nevada. Makhachev is booked in his second UFC Apex main event against veteran Bobby Green. The main event was originally scheduled to have Makhachev face top 5 contender Beneil Dariush, but an ankle injury would force Dariush out of the fight less than 2 weeks out.
No, I have always same plan. Take down, make them tyrant, and finish him there.
Once again, Makhachev finishes his opponent with ease and wins via TKO 3 minutes into round 1.
Islam Makhachev's the best lightweight in the world, man. It's not close. I don't think it is. Like,
it's not close.
I don't even think it's close, man. I think he's gonna wash any dude that he gets in that cage with. Like, we're gonna see, because he's gonna get a title fight off this, and he's gonna do the same thing he did to everyone, the same thing Khabib did to everyone. It's just they're on a different level. I think I'm about as big a Khabib guy as there ever has been. I was standing that dude for years before he got the belt, and I will stand him in his career forever. I think Islam is maybe 85% of the guy that Khabib is. He does not have Khabib's like otherworldly athleticism, but 85% of Khabib is still like 30% better than any other lightweight in the world. Look, we just checked the receipts. A lot of people were feeling frisky. A lot of froggy people wanted to jump on Bobby Green coming into this one. And that was a squash match. There was nothing. He had nothing for him. And Bobby Green is a good fighter. Sure, the circumstances were tough, but it just doesn't matter. Like, it just doesn't. He exceeded even my expectations. And as we talked about a lot beforehand, I thought he was going to dominate Bobby Green. I didn't think he was going to do it to the degree he even did. He's the best fighter in the world, and I might move him up. I can't move him up. He's number 1 in my rankings. I might leave number 2 open and move everybody down and just leave one gap spot there out of respect for the man. Because why not?
Jen,
he's that much better than the rest of them.
Competing earlier on the card is Arman Tsarukyan, who is set to face rising Spanish prospect Joel Alvarez. Tsarukyan bloodies and batters Alvarez and wins by ground and pound TKO in the second round.
That guy is probably going to fight for a world title, and I say that because in that second round, when he had Alvarez busted to hell, he immediately came down and was like, I'm going to put this dude in a crucifix so I can elbow those cuts open again. And that is viciously mean. And that's exactly the type of stuff that, like, the best fighters in the world, like the best fighters in the world they are mean people when they're in the cage. And when you like, that's the biggest sign I ever get when I look at someone is, hey, they are smart and nasty. And that was some nasty-ish. So I'm with you. I thought Tsarukyan was good. I think he is probably going to fight for a belt now.
June 25th, 2022. UFC Vegas 57, Tsarukyan versus Gamrot, Las Vegas, Nevada. Arman Tsarukyan is booked against the highly touted Polish grappler Mateusz Gamrot in his first main event.
This is just every definition of the word high-level martial arts. I don't care if there's beef. I don't care if there's bad blood. I don't care if there's 50,000 or 70,000 KSW people watching this fight or 100 people in the Apex. I just want to see these two lightweights fight, and I'm so ecstatic that it's 5 rounds.
For your more casual fan, sure, you could say it's flying under the radar. It's at the UFC Apex. We're losing that live crowd kind of juice to it. But for those in the know, for the hardcores, however you want to phrase people who don't miss a UFC card, who have their finger on the pulse of who all the up and coming names are. I mean, this is like just as compelling as any of those other main events, maybe just short, because we are seeing the future here. I am with Jose. I do like to believe there's a point where you want to keep up and comers and future title challengers from fighting one another, and then there's a point where it's just like, man, you have these guys in your roster. When you have a roster this loaded, how can you keep them apart? You just want to see them. You just want to see them go at it. And these are two lightweights that are going to fight someday. So why not now? A loss does by no means remove either guy, from future title fight consideration. They both have strong resumes going into it. I bet they're both going to build strong resumes after this fight, no matter who wins. So I'm super, super amped about it. And again, I really cannot wait to talk about the rest of the card, as you can tell. But I will say, if we're just talking about the main event, I mean, it's as close to a 10 as you can get, I think, without having two guys without it being like a number one contenders fight or two legends or two, being a title fight. It is as good as it gets.
In one of the most highly skilled fights of the year, Gamrot wins a controversial decision, snapping Tsarukyan's 5-fight UFC unbeaten streak.
Yep, there's the score. So most people scored it for Tsarukyan. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 for Gamrot, 6, 9, 12, 13, 14. So 15 to 6, it looks like, for Tsarukyan. 48-47, 49-46. I even said, like, in our private page, I was like, I got a 4-1 for Tsarukyan. 5-0 wouldn't shock me from a judge. 48-47 either way wouldn't shock me. It was just one of those fights that it was just so close. It was so high level that, like, I don't know. I'm not bummed out about the score at all. I'm just like, wow, I can't believe I watched that fight. That was tremendous.
The truth of the matter is, like, I can't speak for y'all. I don't feel like either man's better than the other. I feel like, and they said it kind of a lot on the thing, I just feel like they are even. They are exactly even fighters, and they should fight 5 more rounds, and they'll still be even. But I'll watch them fight 3 hours because that was awesome. So, like, if you gave it to either man, I'm fine with it. But I feel like at the end of the day, they are identically, like, at identical skill and talent levels, and that's why it created such an awesome fight.
Tsarukyan would bounce back with consecutive UFC Apex victories over Damir Ismagulov and Joaquim Silva. October 22nd, 2022, UFC 280, Oliveira versus Makhachev, Abu Dhabi. Riding a 10-fight winning streak with 4 straight finishes, Makhachev is booked in his first UFC title fight against former champion Charles Oliveira.
Right now, he's a champion. Right now, he's a best lightweight. I don't think he's best. Right now, I know this is my moment, and I believe even right now, I'm best lightweight in the world.
At media day yesterday, you said you wanted to finish him on the ground. Why is it so important for you to finish it that way on Saturday?
Because he have a record, the most finished in the UFC. I want to take this record because I finish all my last opponents. That's why I always look it for the finish. And I know I'm going to finish him because he always give up. I'm going to do this again.
In a spectacular performance, Islam Makhachev submits Dubronx by arm triangle. The 30-year-old, 22-1 Islam Makhachev is the new UFC lightweight champion.
When I went up into the Octagon after, Khabib said, I told you he's the best in the world. Yeah, I mean, to beat Oliveira is one thing, to beat him the way he beat him is another, and as fast as he did it, he looked incredible tonight. You know, the big question going in tonight was how was he going to deal with the pressure? He dealt with it just fine.
Honestly, when I take him down first time, I feel he have good skills there, but I control every moment, and he give me from the like couple elbows, but nothing surprise. I know my grappling skills, and I told you before, I'm gonna take him down, hold him, make him tired. This just what I did and what I said before.
And then you obviously called Alex Volkanovski into the Octagon. We spoke to Dana and Alex here, and neither of them knew you were going to do that. So how long had you been thinking of this plan?
I have new target. I have to be #1 pound-for-pound champion. That's why I have to go to the Australia and beat this guy.
I mean, this is something that we have sensed coming for a long time. The narrative around Islam for basically the entirety of his entire UFC career has been the guy. He is the heir apparent. He is the next Khabib Nurmagomedov. He is the next Dagestani wrestling prodigy. He is going to be champion in his division sooner rather than later. And it took us a while to get there, man. I mean, this road was not easy for him. There were a lot of canceled fights, a lot of fights turned down, a lot of doubts just in general. Does Islam deserve to be here? He didn't earn his shot. He didn't fight. How about you beat a top 5 guy? All of this. And he comes out here and he does exactly what Khabib did. He did exactly what Islam does every time we see him. He was dominant, right? Like, it was utterly dominant. It was a fun fight to watch, and it was very exciting in the moment. But looking back on it, it was not very competitive, if you're honest with ourselves here. And you're right. I mean, Islam Makhachev is the lightweight champion of the world now. He might be the lightweight champion of the world next year as well, and maybe the next year after. This division has been one of chaos and parity since its existence. There's a reason that no lightweight champion has really been able to mount much of a sustained title defense. It's because there is so much damn talent at 155, and once you get that belt, it's only 1 or 2 before you have to pass it off to someone else. Khabib Nurmagomedov looked like the guy who was going to break that streak, but then he did what he did, and he left in the middle of his prime. It now feels like Islam is ready to take up that mantle and maybe become who we thought Khabib would be in general in terms of the history books and how, a long reign. Maybe Islam's ready to take that. I would not be surprised if a few years from now, obviously it's very early. I'm not trying to predict this ahead of time. I'm not trying to be too much with it or too much too soon, but I would not be surprised if 10 years from now we look back and this was the start of the longest lightweight reign in the history of this division.
Yes, this is a new era. Yes, this is the Islam era. Yes, this is the dawn of a new king reigning supreme in what is arguably the best weight class in the UFC. It's 55 or 35, as we've talked about before. But in a weird way, doesn't it feel a little different than your other new eras? Like when Leon beats Usman, that feels like a new era. When Izzy beats Whitaker, that feels like a new era. This doesn't quite feel like that because it feels like the passing of the baton. The Khabib story is so unique because he was in his prime, still so young, still so dominant, and yet he retired abruptly, 29-0, after the untimely passing of his father, his mentor, his coach, his best friend. And when he walked away, he said it even on that night, like, Islam is next. And he's my guy. He's my protege. I'm his mentor. He's just as good, if not better than me. He will have this title. And obviously there's a bit of a dip there because he had to work his way to this spot. But now it just feels like, all right, there was this dip and now the two eras are combining and there's a passing of the baton. And it was a beautiful scene in there. In the same city, in the same place where Khabib retired, here's, Khabib putting the belt around his guy's waist. Here's Islam giving Khabib the belt. Here's Islam giving a shout out to the late Abdul Manap. It was a great scene for that entire team. And it makes you wonder just how long he is going to hold the title for, because he looks incredible. So it feels like a whole new fresh coat of paint on this weight class. It all feels fresh. It all feels new, but it also kind of feels like, the continuation of what ended abruptly around 2 years ago. So a great scene there, and I'm really looking forward to that fight. That fight is going to be amazing. That fight between Volk and Islam is going to be incredible.
February 11th, 2023, UFC 284, Makhachev versus Volkanovski, Perth, Western Australia. Islam Makhachev is set to defend his title for the first time against lightweight newcomer and current featherweight champion Alexander Volkanovski.
If I beat Volkanovski, I'm gonna be pound for pound best fighter in the world. This is my dream. That's why we call Alex. The game is changed when I take the belt. Now the people or fighters know my name, Before they try to avoid me. But for him, it's good fight. What he gonna lose? Belt, nothing. He just come to the fight, make money, but after that fight he can step his division and be there like champion. He not losing much on this fight.
A lot has been made of what this win would mean if Alex got it. I'm curious, you know how good you are. If he beats you this weekend, could he be considered the greatest of all time?
It's not possible. Because I am the champion and we fight 150 fight. This is not his area. This is other power, other division. I'm gonna beat him easy.
In what turned out to be MMA Fighting's 2023 Fight of the Year, Makhachev wins an extremely competitive decision and remains lightweight champion.
Now I'm not just champion, I'm best fighter in the world. And you know, I am very happy.
Alex,
now people gonna call me not just champ, best fighter in the world. This is my dream, and doesn't matter how I won, I'm very happy.
If you could describe the fallout of this fight, whether it's a personal thing or something else, what word would you use and why?
Lunacy. And honestly, I feel like that's kind of self-explanatory. If you are a rational person who has been engaging with this week, it has been insane. And I came into that fight more than probably most people thinking that it would be one-way traffic. Like, I stood on my corner and was like, I respect Alexander Volkanovski. I think he's the best pound-for-pound fighter in the world. But when Islam gets going, that is a train downhill. He is not going to be able to stop it. And I was dead ass wrong on that. No questions asked, all the way wrong. Everyone else and myself were wrong that Volkanovski would just run him on the feet. He didn't. He lost the fight on the feet. If that is just a striking match, if we're only counting the striking portions of it, he lost the fight on the feet. The narratives were so flipped, but coming out of that event, no one is really talking about the back half. That has happened more as we've gotten a little more space from it. Cooler heads have prevailed a little more where people can and have been giving Islam the recognition he deserves for that. But for much of this post-UFC 284 aftermath, it has been the narrative of Alexander Volkanovski, how he exceeded expectations, how he won 4 rounds, which is freaking insane to argue that, and the general trend of that, largely, I think, because 1, he overachieved, 2, he ended well, and that always tricks people into thinking that the first 4 rounds don't matter because he won the 5th, and then 3, people just really like him, and I've seen a lot of people come out and be like, I love this side of Volk, I love kind of all the antics during the fight and all that. Like, they really gravitated towards that. And it has been this swirling mass of lunacy that has then created this, we got to run it back immediately. And Islam robbed him and all these sorts of really insane takes for a fight that I felt immediately after rewatching. I still feel Islam won, but the fight was awesome. And it would be okay to just appreciate that was really, really good. It's not the best fight we've ever seen, but the stakes were high, the drama was high, the action was good and as technical as it gets. One guy won, one guy lost, and we can revisit this in a year when both guys do the necessary things in their own weight classes. And then that can hopefully be even bigger and even better. But the overwhelming sentiment for me coming out of this is that, like, a large portion of the MMA fan base has gone insane.
I think people want to deny Makhachev based on certain expectations that they had for him or certain media narratives, or he's not the Khabib I remember, I miss Khabib, XOXO. And I get that sentiment. We all miss Khabib, but this dude is a hammer. He is a defensively sound hammer. He's turns out a very well-rounded hammer, and a guy who I think is not getting the respect he deserves at all coming off that win.
Jed, what say you? Islam stock, is it up, down, or did it stay the same? And staying the same is still pretty damn good because it was already really high to begin with.
It's up, and if you don't think it's up, then to borrow Luke's phrase, you're a friggin' donk, man.
October 21st, 2023, UFC 294, Makhachev versus Volkanovski 2, Abu Dhabi. In his second title defense, Islam Makhachev is scheduled to defend his title against the man he defeated to win UFC gold, Charles Oliveira, in a rematch. However, Oliveira suffers an injury less than 2 weeks before the matchup. And on 12 days' notice, the UFC ends up booking a direct rematch between the lightweight champion and the featherweight champion Volkanovski to headline UFC 294. This will be Volkanovski's second attempt to become a simultaneous UFC multi-weight champion.
I don't have any pressures because I am a champion. Doesn't matter who is gonna be in front of me. But I agree, this guy don't have any pressures.
He came 11 days and I already beat him. And if I beat him again, just people gonna say he come short notice, not good shape, something like this. But for me, it's nothing means. I just step to the cage, finish this guy. That's it.
This time, there would be no judging controversy, as Makhachev delivers a knockout of the year candidate head kick and defeats Volkanovski for the second time in as many fights.
Really happy to finish the first round because after, if it's happened in championship round, people start to talk, he's take this fight short notice, he's not ready for championship round. But I'm really happy because I finished all these things in the first round. Well done. All this story with Volkanovski, it's finished right now.
Do you feel like this proves you are the best fighter in the world right now?
Of course. Some people underestimated my striking, but I showed, in the first fight, I showed the people my striking. And I think now people will respect my striking, and I just show I'm not just wrestler, grappler, or striker. I know I'm a best fighter, best MMA fighter in the world.
Yes, this fight came together very quickly. Yes, Alexander Volkanovski stepped up on less than 2 weeks' notice for Charles Oliveira. Their first fight, fight of the year contender, Islam Makhachev made sure, and you could kind of see it in his face. We talked about it on the watch party. This man just looked ready to go. He looked focused. Not that he was ever in like bad shape, but he looked in impeccable shape. And you noticed it when Bruce Buffer was giving the introductions, and then he just goes out and just ices Alexander Volkanovski. Your reaction to what we saw from the lightweight champion of the world in the main event?
What else is there to say, man? Islam Makhachev is that dude. Like, he is. He is that man. That is the best pound-for-pound fighter on the entire planet. And the feeling that man must be feeling right now inside of himself. He's heard for 8 months straight about how all this controversy in the first fight, how Volk beat him, etc., etc. Volk ended the fight with the momentum on top. If that fight goes longer, Volk wins. Everything that man has heard over the last 8 months, all gone now. All silent. That man put it to rest. There is no controversy here. He is the best fighter in the entire world in my eyes. And just what an all-around package this guy has become, right? Because this wasn't a grapple fest. This wasn't a Khabib Nurmagomedov-esque just stifling a domination on the ground. That man just knocked out Alexander Volkanovski. Like, you can repeat that sentence as many times as you want. Islam Makhachev just knocked out Alexander Volkanovski with a head kick. That is crazy. That is not an outcome that I think many people saw coming. That is the first time Alexander Volkanovski's been knocked out since 2013. Like, this is just, if you were Islam Makhachev, this was the perfect performance to be able to quell all of that and just become who you are. I don't think this man lives under the shadow of Khabib Nurmagomedov anymore. He is a Islam Makhachev. He is one of the best lightweights we've ever seen, perhaps. And he is now one fight away. Get this, right? He's now one fight away from tying the UFC's all-time record for most consecutive title defenses for a lightweight champion.
December 2nd, 2023. UFC Austin, Dariush versus Tsarukyan, Austin, Texas. Arman Tsarukyan is booked in his first non-Apex main event against perennial top contender Beneil Dariush. If I'm betting on this, I'm betting Betty at plus 240. This just seems way too wide. Does it not?
Yep. Plus 235 is what I took him out on No Bets Barred earlier this week. Number keeps moving. I don't get it. Just honestly, like, Tsarukyan and Gamrot are not the same fighter, but like, they're pretty similar in like broad strokes, and we saw what happened when Benny fought Gamrot. Like, it will be exceedingly unsurprising if Tsarukyan just gets stuffed, because he does not have a high takedown like rate. He shoots an infinite number of them, but he actually like fails way more often than not. Benny's a really good defensive wrestler, also a really good scrambler and defensive grappler if he does get taken down. Absolutely wouldn't shock me if Benny's just like, hey, you're going to be mixing it up with me on the feet. And I think Tsarukyan is a better boxer than Gamrot is, but he is still far from a finished or quality product there. Like, this fight should be way closer to a pick'em than it is.
In an eye-opening performance, Arman Tsarukyan knocks out Dariush in the first minute of the 25-minute fight.
This is obviously his best performance by a mile, his biggest win. And that's what you want to see. It's certainly what I wanted to see. I think we talked about in the preview show. Hadn't seen him level up in the way that you had hoped. Tonight, warp speed Captain Sulu. Arman Tsarukyan just launched himself into the top 5. And the fight I want most is Islam Makhachev versus Arman Tsarukyan 2. Like, that is the best fight that can be made in the sport right now, as far as I'm concerned. And hopefully, if not 2020, like not back into 2024, hopefully we can get that in 2025.
April 13th, 2024, UFC 300, Pereira versus Hill, Las Vegas, Nevada. In his biggest profile fight to date, Tsarukyan is booked on the main card opposite former lightweight champion Charles Oliveira on the blockbuster UFC 300 card. I already threw down the gauntlet for Arman Tsarukyan versus Charles Oliveira. You all know how I feel about this fight. This is a fight, to me, that's like been 3 or 4 years in the making. He's finally ascended to where I believed he always would, and he's gonna fight for that title. Islam Makhachev versus Arman Tsarukyan 2 is one of the fights that I just have to see, and I think we're gonna see it within the next 12 months. Tsarukyan wins a competitive split decision.
How different of a fighter are you now than when you fought Islam the first time, in your opinion? What have you improved on, do you think, the most?
What do you think? I fought like 10 times after that fight, and I feel like 10 winning streak I have after that fight. I didn't lose any fights from Islam fights, and like it was 5 years ago. I got a lot of experience. My skills, I'm like getting better every day. I feel it, and like every camp, every camp I get better. So I feel this camp I was better than last one and like previous one, and I'm going up. I don't know what gonna be in like 3-4 years. I'm like gonna be like unstoppable fighter.
June 1st, 2024, UFC 302, Makhachev versus Poirier, Newark, New Jersey. Islam Makhachev is set to defend his belt for the first time against someone not named Alexander Volkanovski. This time, the challenger is WEC veteran and former interim lightweight champion Dustin Poirier.
I will finish him because I'm in the different level. I'm a best fighter in the world right now. My style, it's a war style for him. That's why he can beat some striker. He like one of the best striker in this game. But we're not striker. We're MMA fighters, and my skills on different level.
Makhachev continues his incredible winning streak and finishes Poirier via Darce choke halfway into round 5 in a Fight of the Year contender.
I think my mistake in this fight, I have to believe my striking more, because I show my striking today. I stay within and if I landed a lot of good punches, honestly. The first punches I almost knock him down, and if I believe more, I think I can knock him out today, but it's okay. I'm happy to finish him in the ground. And I told him in the press conference, if you not tap, you will sleep. But I think he stopped and sleep.
He is in this very, very interesting space as a champion, where he is the #1 pound-for-pound fighter in the world by just about anybody who's rational actor at this point. But despite being the top pound-for-pound fighter, and like everyone very clearly respects his skills, the way things have broken for him, he's not a beloved fighter. Khabib was beloved, and he comes in and has the shadow of Khabib over him. And then while managing that through no fault of his own, like he can't control that, managing the, hey, you're not Khabib part of it, still becoming the best pound-for-pound fighter in the world, he has to do it by fighting two of the most beloved fighters in this era in Volkanovski and Dustin Poirier. Like, there was no
way for people to be behind him broadly. Islam fans and, Habib fans will like him, but people will gravitate towards Volk. They gravitate towards Poirier. And so he has been cast as the villain, though he is not villainous. And so people aren't going to talk about him in this way because it's not, man, look at what Islam dealt with out here. Islam, whether you overlooked him or Dustin Poirier was just so much better than we all anticipated, he had to gut through a tougher fight than anticipated and didn't win by the skin of his teeth, didn't take home a decision, but showed, one, a sick-ass setup to that finish. I forget who put the clip up, but I was live blogging, so I didn't catch it. The whole finishing sequence is unbelievable technical shit going on. Islam has the single leg, is very aware that Poirier is going to punch him. As soon as Poirier starts to try and punch from that position, he steps back, slings the leg, and that initiates the sequence that gets him to the guillotine, into the darce, into the finish. It is unbelievable technical brilliance when he is very clearly tired after a hard fight. And to have that kind of mental intuition, grit, stubbornness to say, I'm going to win this and I'm going to finish this dude right now. That's championship shit. And that's the shit we should all be hanging from the rafters that this guy is an all-time great. And no one is downplaying him. Maybe some people are. No one is, saying, wow, that was trash. But he doesn't get to be the centerpiece. And I do think that that's a bit unlucky and unfortunate for him. But it's just sort of how things have broken.
January 18th, 2025. UFC 311, Makhachev versus Tsarukyan 2, Inglewood, California. In a rematch years in the making, the UFC lightweight champion, Islam Makhachev, is set to defend his title against surging contender Arman Tsarukyan as the main event for the first UFC pay-per-view of 2025 and the first UFC event at the brand new Intuit Dome in Inglewood, California.